Welcome back to the Kaiser Report. I'm Max Kaiser. Time now to turn to precious metals expert and whistleblower Andrew Maguire. Andrew, welcome to the Kaiser Report.
It's great to be here, Max. Nice to see you.
Yes, great to have you on. Now, Andrew Maguire, you say that a gold default is underway as we speak and that this is the reason for the recent gold smash. So first of all, what do you mean by gold default, so people understand what that means?
Okay, so basically what I'm saying is that if you are a holder of bullion and you think you own that bullion and you just happen to turn up and ask for that bullion and you're told, I'm sorry, we don't have that bullion, so will you take cash instead? In fact, you're going to take cash instead. Well, technically that's a default. Now, you know, under the unallocated LBMA system, technically, if you read through the small print, yeah, you can be settled for cash. However, that's not what most people think.
Okay, the LBMA, people have seen you and others, part of the recent lawsuit that's been waged against banks for manipulating the price of silver. And what came out was that the LBMA is leveraged 100 to 1 in some cases on their precious metal positions. So here's an exchange that is even more leveraged than Enron was at the height of its before it collapsed, before WorldCom collapsed. Here's 100 to 1 leverage. So every dollar of physical, they've got 100 of paper. And so when people go to take delivery of that gold and silver, they're said, no, we have to get paper instead, number one. Number two, there's a real threat that it could cause a run on the exchange, and now this leads to the recent smash because people were demanding their precious metal, and then this leads to the recent smash. Talk about it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think what the straw that broke the camel's back was the Cyprus issue. Now, I had a very large client come to me and say, I'm getting my physical. So he went, this is part of the ABM AMRO story. So he went, and this was before even the letter was sent out to all their clients. And he went and asked for his bullion back and was told, well, no, we've got to settle you for cash. But hang on a minute, you know, this is my bullion. Now, you know, reading the small print, you don't actually have a numbered bar. But you actually believe, when you go and apply for a bullion account with a bullion bank that's part of the LBMA system, you're told, here, you've got two choices. It's much cheaper to go this route. You don't actually get a numbered bar, but essentially, that's your gold. Otherwise, you wouldn't buy it in the first place. Or go the allocated route. It's going to cost you a lot more money. You get a numbered bar, but you know, why incur the cost? All
right, so people are not able to take delivery of their gold. I was just reading Jim Sinclair was talking about a client or a friend of his who was having the same problem in Switzerland. So in Switzerland, they went to get his gold, and they're saying, wait a minute, there's no gold here. We're going to settle for paper. Now, let's talk about the paper gold market for a second, because there's a big paper gold vehicle, GLD. It trades on the stock exchange, but that's not real gold, is it? It's really paper gold. And there was, as part of these maneuvers to smash the price, of course, you have the futures market that gets smashed with naked short sales in a lot of cases, but these ETFs are also smashed. But when you buy an ETF like GLD, you're not buying physical gold, are you?
Well, no, you're ending up with shares and a claim on gold. That's what look, essentially, there's only two things. You either got something in your hand you can clunk, or it's paper. I don't trust the latter. And obviously, when we saw this recent short smash, you notice that Goldman Sachs, when they came out and issued the sell short note, which was just before the federal intervention came in, they started by shorting GLD. Very interesting, because you get a lot of leverage that way. Forces, obviously, the redemptions force the bullion to be purchased. But it also, if you think about it, none of this bullion in all of this smash, not 1 ounce of that bullion has turned up. There is no physical for sale. So, you know, where is it going? Well, I suggest strongly that it's going to replace inventories that were not there in the first place. All these inventories are mismatched by duration, and it's incurred itself over the years. You've had basically all the way back from the lease carry trade. So you've had bullion banks building up index positions, never really needing to purchase the gold, and all of a sudden you get someone like China, like Russia, like central banks and sovereigns, and other smart investors saying, look, I'll tell you what, MFG didn't like what happened there, rehypothecated gold, no, I think I'll better take delivery. So now you've got this enormous pressure on the bullion that was never anticipated in the first place. So when they originally took your $10 million from the pension fund and decided, well, let's not buy bullion, let's just give you a receipt, and now we're indexed to the price of gold. Obviously, number one, by not buying the gold, it didn't go up. Number two, now you've got an incentive not for price not to go, the price of gold not to go up. So obviously, suddenly, more than 3 or 4 people coming for their ounce of gold, 100 to 1, is going to cause a problem.
Right now, Andrew Maguire, you've been a pivotal figure in the scandal, really, that is the gold market and silver market. This is something that's been covered by the Gold Antitrust Action Committee for years. People have been writing about it, and they've been on the margins. And then as the price has gone higher, and this outcry toward what appears to be manipulation has grown over the years, and then you actually sat down with a regulator and said, look, here's where the price is going to be manipulated. The price is going to crash at this moment. This is, and you basically explained a manipulation before it was going to be manipulated. It did exactly what you said it was going to do. The regulator looked at that and they said, wow, that's interesting. Let's investigate. They did an investigation. Where is that now?
Right. Okay. It's ongoing.
You showed them the smoking gun. You
Yes,
showed
I
them
did.
the manipulation. You said, here's where it's going to happen. There's a great video out there. You said, it's going to crash right here because they're manipulating it right at this price. You showed them the smoking gun, the evidence. So what happened?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're still ongoing. Now, the thing is that, and obviously, you know, there are things I really wish I could discuss, but there is an active investigation going on. It covers more than one country. And so obviously, you know, there's not a lot of comment I can make about that, but other than they were definitely given sufficient evidence to be able to pursue that investigation further. There is also new evidence coming in all the time. What I will say is this recent documentary that came out, as much as...
The Canadian documentary.
The Canadian documentary that came out.
It was called, we talked about it in the first half of the show, the incredible...
Secret World of Gold.
That's it, Secret World of Gold.
Yeah, which I mean, obviously, for people so close to the gold market, they're a little disappointed there wasn't more about manipulation in there. But generally speaking, at least what it did was perhaps educate millions of people around the world on the History Channel, various countries. My God, if I've got any gold, I want it. So really, you're actually educating people. Then those bankers can't be trusted.
So Andrew, what about this idea of cognitive dissonance? Because we know for a fact now that the major banks, the same billion banks who operate as non-billion banks, I mean, they rigged the LIBOR market, multi-$100 trillion LIBOR rigging. Yep. They admit it. They paid a fine. They showed that, yes, we do it. Pari passu with rigging LIBOR, if you're going to keep interest rates manipulated and currencies manipulated, you would have to, by definition, also manipulate gold and silver.
Absolutely.
Right? Otherwise, because why manipulate LIBOR and then have gold and silver skyrocket?
Well,
right?
What people fail to remember, when you see people talking about gold and silver as commodities, they are actually currencies. And people forget that they actually trade as a foreign exchange cross. So when you go long gold, you are shorting the dollar.
So why is it so difficult for people to understand that gold and silver are being manipulated just like LIBOR?
It's just amazing to me. It just absolutely staggers me.
Okay, let me ask you this then. The markets, as you've described it and others, are at a major inflection point because there's a run on gold and silver. The price smash by the paper cartel has only increased demand.
Yeah.
And as a result, these futures exchanges are being overwhelmed.
Yeah, they are.
They can smash the price. Now, every time they do smash the price, the unintended consequence is they're increasing demand almost exponentially. So the people in India, Russia, China, who are out there queuing up around the block to buy gold, are they ultimately going to smash these bullion banks and the paper cartel? Is that what the hope of the world is in the hands of the people queuing in Bangkok to buy gold bullion, to decimate HSBC, Barclays, and these what I call financial paper terrorists? Is that, how close are we now in your thought?
And what we're seeing is, and obviously the visible side is the retail side. You're seeing an insatiable demand, people losing faith in currencies and buying physical. Where it's crossing the line is into the wholesale market. And I think that is the key. It's the wholesale market that is now short in supply. And that is what we ran into very recently, 3 weeks ago, when ABN AMRO issued that very first written default of an LBN.
You review that for the folks because this was a major turning point. Just describe that briefly to give the background there. if you can?
Well, obviously, I mentioned I had a client that went in there to ask for a physical. He was refused. They must have been having a lot of other requests because a letter came out within a day or two to all their clients saying they no longer could receive their bullion in cash. Well, that is a major smoke signal, and I couldn't believe that none of the financial press picked that up. I mean, that is a crack in the dam. Then you conversely look over to the COMEX and see a 90-day reduction, incredible reduction in inventories. And you suddenly see there's every reason in the world, either one of two things is going to happen. The bullion banks have to buy back their gold, which drives the price through the roof, or you're going to have to default.
Okay, let's take the example of bullion banks default, or COMEX defaults, or LBMA defaults. Will the central planners, the central bankers, the commercial banks, will they step in and bail them out with more paper? That's the question people always hear. They say, well, they can never default because they're tied at the hip to the central banks, and they'll always just bail them out. Your thoughts?
Well, all they're going to do, and I'm sure, Max, you've covered this before, they're going to hit a keystroke, they're going to print some money, they're going to settle people in cash, the price will gap up, you'll be settled in cash on the day before, and the price will start to find its true level. You will not be on board for all the years that you've intended to hedge yourself. You'll have lost that instantly.
Right. People buy physical gold against the inflation of the paper money supply. So the fact that they're going to try to save the markets by increasing the money supply is not a reason not to buy gold. It's the opposite. It's the reason to buy gold. Now, Ben Davies, who is a friend of the show, and he's a gold manager as well, he made an interesting comment that gold will go to $5,000 an ounce, but nobody will own it. I think, because they're scaring people out of gold, and then there's going to be a default, as I understand Ben's comments, and then you'll see a gap opening to $5,000 an ounce, but by then, if you don't own any at that point, it's too late.
If you don't own any physical, that's the key, of course, is you've got to own the physical. Anyone who's margined, to be honest, I really have no sympathy for people who over-margin themselves. If you're a margin, you better hedge yourself. But the point is that, yes, he's right. Of course, gold is going to find its true level. We don't even know what that is. It's been suppressed for so many years. But certainly one thing for sure, you've got China, Russia, as you mentioned, these other countries, now looking to back their own currencies with a reserve of gold. So that makes their currencies, and I think the IMF issued a statement that within 3 to 5 years, China is going to be the world's reserve currency.
Andrew Maguire, we're out of time. Thanks so much for being on the Kaiser Report.
It's great to be here, Max.